Welcome to another video in my home automation series, and today I'm returning to the iHost just to give you an update because well, there has been a software update or firmware update on the iHost, but there are some other Dockers available, and here I specifically want to talk about one Docker which gives you an option to do a file browser, and that file browser basically allows you to edit files within your iHost. And the reason I wanted to highlight this file browser because when I did my Node-RED video, I said that one of the downside I could think of running Node-RED on the iHost is that you don't have access to the file systems. So for example, you cannot configure the settings.js. Like if you want to allow or enable, for example, context storage, local context storage. You can't do that because it has to be done on the settings.js. And there is a lot of other things, the static pages or encryption, you won't be able to do unless you have access to the settings.js file. Now you have, as you can see, I can see the files on my Node-RED files. I have access to the settings.js, so I can make changes to that. I also have access to the flow.json, so that's my flow file, so I can save it and I can back it up. And that's great. This is all I wanted. Okay, so let's start this review. First of all, what I want to mention, if I come to the settings, that there has been a firmware update. So I don't even remember what was the latest firmware that I did use on my review. I think it was 1.5.0 or 1.5 point something. So the current version is 1.7.0. And I mean, you can view the changelog. There are a couple of things that they have improved that I highlighted in the previously. First of all, now there is a built-in tracking of the summertime and so daylight saving time. So actually I now need to probably change this to UPC +2 because now my clock is 1 hour off. I have no idea if I'm going to, CET, that's it. Okay, so now it's done. So that should change the clock in the summertime and the winter time. So that's good. So I don't have to do it manually 2 times every year. There is nothing main change here. Also there is, I haven't really noticed anything major in the devices screen or the manual screen or the security screen. There has been some updates to the cast, but I think that's the main cast and not this particular cast because after a quick review, I haven't really noticed anything new here. But the main cast for the main EV-Link is changing. So maybe those improvements are going to come over to the iHost at some point as well. The one thing that they have added is that you have the option to delete a Docker hub that you are not using. So I have accidentally installed a couple of invalid Dockers which were just sitting there not really doing anything. So now you can uninstall that. So you can see that you can uninstall it, and then once you have uninstalled it, that there is also a remove button, so then it gets deleted completely. But I don't want to uninstall any of these because I'm using them. And also there is a new functionality here because now they are launching a new pilot feature in which we should be able to integrate Zigbee devices that are not supported by IT's Cube system, but they are Zigbee 3.0, so they are not compliant, but hopefully we can somehow integrate this. I think working on this probably is going to take a little bit longer than obviously this video, so I will cover that in the future. But let's say you have some Zigbee devices which are not supported, like thermostatic valves or thermostats, so those are not supported in Sonoff at the moment. There is no compatible or matching Sonoff products. So if you try to add them, nothing really happens. So with this feature, they promise that they can make this happen. So actually, I'm interested into trying out, but then I just need more time to work on that. So I think these are the main updates, and probably there's lots of performance and stability improvements and minor bug fixes, maybe things that I haven't even noticed. What I want to talk about now is this file system or Filebrowser plugin. So it is called Filebrowser/Filebrowser. So if you browser, so if you come to here plus and then you search for it, you can see it's the first one. So it has to be this one, Filebrowser/Filebrowser. And because I have already installed it, I don't have footage of some of the steps in the installation process, but there is this very good guide on how you manage volume and the Filebrowser. So here there are some important, very useful screenshots. For example, how you add to the Docker. Well, we have seen that one, and then also how you can create volume. So now this is also a new feature which appeared here. So besides your add-ons, you also have a section for volume. And to be honest, I didn't do anything here because all I have done is, once you install a Docker image, then it automatically creates a volume for that. So I don't see a reason to manually create the volume. Maybe if you create the volume manually, then instead of seeing these auto-generated numbers, there would be more user-friendly names for these. But even without that, so even by not creating the volumes, when you run the Filebrowser plugin, you will have a screen like this. So your network is bridge. You set the port to 1234 and 80, and then you can select your volumes, and then if you have like home bridge or Node-RED already selected, you can still select it from the drop down. It would still show the ID, and but you can figure it out which one is Node-RED or home bridge. And all you have to do is you have to just type in this box srv Node-RED files and srv home bridge files, and you just leave the rest of the settings on default, and then you run it. And that's it. So that says, you run it, and that's it. That's your user interface. So once let me go back to add-ons. So obviously once you install it and then you click on run, you have that pop up, you put in all the details and then you run, then your Docker image is running. So you can click on more info, and you don't have a tab for the web UI, but then you see this setting, you see this line here which says port, and then you have this icon, and you click on that, and that actually launches your Filebrowser. You have seen me, just before that I've received a logon screen. So there is a default admin, so admin user, password admin. So both of them are admin, and then you are in. And the two volumes that you have configured are here. So obviously, if you plan to use some other Docker images in the future, then you have to just add them again. So you can just stop the service and then start again, and then you can add them as additional volumes. But it looks like it has the feeling of like the Google Drive. So you have a couple of icons here. You can create files and folders. To be honest, I don't really see a point of creating files and folders. Maybe in the future I would need to do that, but I haven't used those. You can change the password here. The password here. You can set some things here, how it shows the dates, and I haven't really looked at all these in detail just yet, because to be honest, I think what I will be using this for is just editing the settings.js occasionally. Maybe you have to do it, I don't know, once a year or a couple of times a year, and then maybe come here again once in a while, and then just back up the flow.json file. You can create additional users as well, but I don't know if it's going to be used that much. You have a couple of options here, so you can toggle the shell. I think you can type shell commands here. Okay, honestly, I don't know. I'm not going to use anything for that. And then you can change the view, so you can have this details view, and then you have sort of like an icon view, and then you can just download files in different format. You can also upload files. You can also info files, and you can do multiple selection. But yeah, so for example, you want to back up your flow.json, you click on flow.json and then you back up and it downloads it. Or you want to edit your this file, again you have some other buttons here, like you can share it or copy it or move it or delete it, or again toggle the shell, or you can info it, and yeah, you can share. Fine. Not sure why you would do that on the iHost, but anyway, the most important feature is you can double click and then it brings up this editor. I guess this editor only works for certain file types, but luckily it works for the .js file, which is the settings.js. And yeah, I mean, the rest of it is just the standard Node-RED settings.js. So you can see that most of the options that are available here are included as an example, and if you need, you can just uncomment things. So for example, the Node-RED tells you that you should be setting up a credential secret. So if you want to use this beyond just playing around, probably you should set a credential secret here. And also this is the authentication, so the password protection for the editor. You also have, you can have your certificates here, and you can set up the editor and the static page for authentication as well. And what else? You can modify the port if you want to. There is something else that I used in colors. No, I'm not interested in middleware. Oh yeah, HTTP static. I use that quite a lot. So for example, I want to create my own static folder where I can put images that I can include on the dashboard. So that is something that I use. And language diagnostics, runtime logging, and then that's the context storage. So again, I covered the context storage in a separate video, so you can look at that one if you're interested in that. And external modules, and actually there is a there are some settings. I think it usually at the end. No, it's not the end. But you can even like change the title of your Node-RED. Like you can give it a custom title. But don't ask me where it is. You can just Google it, and then you will be able to find it. But again, that's your settings.js. You can make changes to it, and you have a handy save button. So I think it's fine. This is probably the only thing I'm going to use this for. But if we wouldn't have this Docker image, I wouldn't be able to modify the settings.js. So even if I'm just going to use for this single thing, I think it is really important and a really useful add-on for the iHost. And yeah, so I'm going to include the link to this forum post in the video description. So you can check out the details. You can have the sample screenshots here. And by the way, this particular evlink.cc forum is for the evlink cube. So these are all the new, that's the new software environment which is running on the iHost, but actually this is the same which is running on the NS Panel Pro as well. So there is a lot of discussion here, new features, people talking about these. So I think that's also a useful resource, and this is how I find out this Filebrowser, and also based on recommendations from Google that other guys have done this review already. So that will be all for today. As I said, this would be a quick one. Links in the video description. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.